From where? California. What city? Sacramento. Dayton, Ohio. Texas. What city? Grand Prairie. Harrisburg. Anybody else? North Platte, Nebraska. Greensboro, North Carolina. Yes. Vineland, New Jersey. Anybody else? Well, why are you people all here? You came for our beaches, no doubt. Well, we welcome all of you here today, and we hope that you'll worship with us in joy and with hope, and we hope that you'll have a good experience. If someone were to come up to you from somewhere, outer space or somewhere, and say, "What does the word wisdom mean?" what would you tell them? Think, don't answer till you think. What does the word wisdom mean? We use it all the time, right? We say, well, that's a wise decision. Oh, yeah? Why don't you know what you mean? What is wisdom? Say again? Nope. That's exactly what it isn't. It is not knowledge. An ability to discern, okay, that's getting warmer. Yes? I didn't hear the first word. Oh, it has to do with aging, okay. Oh, I wish that were true. By the way, today's my birthday, and I'm eligible for Social Security now. So, I'm not sure what you're applauding for, but anyway, what is wisdom? And that's what we want to talk about today, because that's A, what the gospel talks about, and B, what the first reading talks about with King Solomon. If you remember who King Solomon was, we remember him as being wise, right? He's the one who had the two women come in claiming the same baby. Remember that story? And he said, well, let's just cut it in half, and you each get half. And when the one woman said, oh, no, don't do that, he knew who the real mother was. He gave it to the one who protested. So he was known for his wisdom. The reading today picks up at the very beginning of his reign. He succeeded King David about 1,000 years before the birth of Jesus, 970 BC. And he was a very young man. And God said to him, what do you want? Now think for a minute. If God came to you today and said, what do you want? What would you answer? Oh, to be young again. More money, a new car, nicer neighbors. What would you ask? And if you look at the book of Kings today and we hear about what Solomon said, he was very clear. He said to God, first of all, God, you made me. He recognized a higher being. He recognized the fact that he wasn't in control of anything, even though he was king. And then he asked God for some very specific things. And one of the things that he asked for was the ability to be both merciful and just. And then he asked God to help him because the job was so vast. He said, your people are so many that I can't do this. And so the wisdom of Solomon is the fact that he understood that being king was not about being God. Being king was not trying to do everything. Being king meant you were a servant. Maybe we should have our own political officials read that text instead of taking an oath. Read the book of Kings. So wisdom is not a matter of knowledge. I can have the knowledge to make a nuclear bomb, but do I have the wisdom to understand its consequences? You see? I can have the knowledge to fix a car or to even drive a car, but do I have the wisdom to drive it safely? So wisdom and knowledge are not the same thing. Wisdom is a matter of seeing and understanding. It's a matter of seeing and entering into and determining consequences. And that happens in all our lives. So a wise person might say, we're late for church. Not that that would happen. But I'm not going to drive fast, because that wouldn't be wise. You see? A wise person would say, we're not going to be late for church. We'll get up earlier and avoid the whole issue. Not that anyone ever comes in late. A wise person would say, God has given me many gifts, and I have to figure out how to use those gifts. A wise person understands that we, in fact, are not independent. We are interdependent. That we must depend on one another for all kinds of things. If any of you have ever been in 12-step programs for alcohol or drugs, you know that one of the very first things you do is you have to admit that there's a higher power, that you're not the center of the universe. Wisdom comes when we realize that we're not in charge. And that's what Solomon realized. Now, in the gospel today, Jesus gave these little vignettes. They're 3 or 4 parables. One about a guy who found a great treasure in a field, and he ran off and bought the field. And the other one found the pearl of great price. And the third one, what did he do? I forget. Anyway, the point is, do you recognize the pearl of great price? Do you recognize the treasure in the field? Do you recognize what is important and what isn't? Solomon asked God to help him judge between right and wrong. Sometimes in our society, right and wrong are very, very messed up. And so if we want wisdom, we need to pray to God, recognize what is of God, and go after it. Recognize what is from God and make it the center of our lives. Wisdom is not about knowledge. Wisdom is about recognizing that our actions and our words have consequences. And those consequences are not just consequential in this world, but in the world to come as well. Wisdom. How will you treat your parents today? Wisdom would say, if you want to be in the will, you better be nice.